taking a bit. Oh, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here across both my own channels as well as Stock Market News. But we are here joined by a very special guest, the great and powerful Shiv Verma, CFO of Robinhood Markets. Thank you for being here, Shiv.
No, so excited. Thank you for having me, guys.
I've been following this company for a long time and have had the pleasure of speaking with Vlad and also yourself over the earnings calls. But before you was Jason Warnick, and now obviously you've come into be in this role. I think that you've actually taken the CFO role around February. How has that been so far? With this very new role, you're not new to Robinhood, but you're new to this role. How's that been?
No, it's been great. Thank you for asking. So I've been at Robinhood for 8 years. Me and Jason joined 6 weeks apart back in 2018. And so we've been at this for a long time with Vlad and the team. It felt super natural, super appreciative of Jason and what he's done and helped me getting trained throughout the years. I've been in every meeting. I've attended the board for 5 years. I've got to know our investors. I used to run IR. And so it felt very natural. I love what I do. I love working with the team. There are some things that are different. I'm spending a lot more time with investors, spending more time with folks like yourself and the press and the media, which is fun to get our story out. But otherwise, I think it's been a smooth transition. I've been in the trenches with Vlad. I'm one of the few people who can go into office and tell him exactly what I think. He may not always listen to me, but he'll hear me out. And so that's 8 years of working together. With Jason, I joined as a team of 1. And literally, I was the first treasury person ever, and the finance team was probably less than 10. And today, we're a public company finance team, and so it's been super fun to build out that team together, and now be able to help lead it. And so, looking forward to the first 8 years, and now the next 8 years, and see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see that, but the business model of Robinhood has changed a lot since you've been there. And I think maybe one of the main things that we want to talk about during this conversation is Robinhood's approach to allowing individual investors access to more private access or private market companies. One of the ways that you guys have been able to do this is through a new investment vehicle called RVI. This has absolutely taken the spotlight. I'm seeing people talk about it all over the place. It's gone completely viral. A fund opened up with OpenAI and Stripe and 11 Labs and Databricks and all of these companies back in March has already appreciated over 140%. How is this approach so far? Do you think that this is going to be the new way that investors get access to private markets without having to be accredited?
Yeah, this is exactly what we were hoping for, to give customers access, to get the story started. Our vision is that over time, Robinhood should be the destination to get private assets. And we want to do for public assets the same thing for private assets that we already did. Bring it to everybody, make it low cost, remove the jargon, remove the friction. It's incredible to see the reception. We are so grateful to both the customers and also the companies that have partnered. And so how did we actually start this? This was actually in 2021, we started to think about it. Hey, some of the greatest technology companies of our generation are staying private for longer. How do we have access to the customer? And the reason it took us so many years was to get the fund out is we wanted to do it the right way. And so when we talked to customers, there were a few pain points. One, you mentioned traditionally you have to be accredited. 85 to 90% of Americans aren't accredited. So that's a huge barrier. Second, most of the funds, if you are lucky enough to invest, you're locked up for 7 to 10 years. For the average American, that is really tough. They have daily liquidity needs, and they want to be able to access the markets the same way they would a public market. And the third is many of them just have really high fees, and they tend to charge carry, and it just wasn't the best economic value for customers. So we said, how do we design a product that works for the customer, but also for the companies? We have to be respectful of the company. I remember being public, and you before we were public and we were private, it's different, and you have to have the control of your cap table and understand who's investing. And so we said, how do we design a product that works for both parties? And so that's how the vision came about. And we looked at all these different types of fund structures and wrappers, and we chose a closed-end fund. And so the first fund we just listed, as you mentioned, is RVI, Robinhood Ventures Fund 1. One is by design in the name. We have others in the hopper. But the way it works is it's a closed-end fund vehicle. So you raise a pool of capital. We actually IPO'd the fund in March. And then after the fund is IPO'd, it trades on the exchange. We listed on the New York Stock Exchange. It's just like an ETF. And so what does that do? First, it gives you daily liquidity. You can buy or sell it any single day. Super important for customers. Second, you don't need to be accredited. Again, it's an exchange trade fund. It's just like buying an ETF or a stock. And so that solved that pain point. And third, we were able to do it with super competitive fees, 2% management fee, no carry, which you will very rarely see in the venture capital industry. And so it's been great to see the reception for the fund. The next part is you have to get the companies. And so me and Vlad and the team, we leveraged every connection we had. We went up and down Silicon Valley. We're 5 minutes away from Sandhill, and many of the premier VCs invested in us, and we partnered with a lot of the companies. And it was hard. It was like pulling teeth. We were the new kid on the block. We had to show them what we could do. But we started with some great partners. So Databricks, Ramp, Record, the AI data tagging lab. And then we did some consumer hardware, Aura, the wearables company, Boom Aerospace. They're powering the AI innovation with their energy, and then the supersonic jet, which we're super excited for. And then we started to go to some even the larger companies. So after we went public, we did Stripe, one of the premier technology companies in the world, 11 labs. We've got to know them. Those founders are amazing. It's one of the coolest AI labs we've seen. And then most recently, OpenAI. And so it's been great to give customers access. The reception has been awesome, and we're super excited to just get started. But yeah, it's fun, and it's honestly happened a little faster than we expected after we've gone public.
It's funny because you guys really did build this in public. I remember listening to the Cheeky Pints podcast with Vlad Tenev, and he was actively pitching, Stripe on coming onto the fund and allowing retail access. And honestly, they were a little bit hesitant at first. And the next thing you know, it's on RVI. So obviously, Vlad and you guys were selling hard, but it's, retail investors are thankful.
No, to your point, it took some education. John at Stripe is great. I've gotten to know him as well, and Vlad knows both the Collison brothers well. We wanted to make sure it worked for the companies, though. So one thing that's different about our fund that was super important, every investment we've made is direct on the cap table. So there's no SPVs or multiple layers or synthetics or derivatives. Every investment we made, we've gone to the company, we've gone through the front door. You mentioned up front that the stock is appreciated. One of the things that we think is driving the interest in the fund is that it is direct access. Earlier this week, very famously, Anthropic came out and said, we will not honor any SPVs. If you've invested in Anthropic and you think you own it, but you didn't make a direct investment, that is no longer valid and void. For a lot of people, that's scary because they've been investing and they thought they've made it, and they may have what they thought was very appreciated equity. And so what people are looking for is, hey, if I want to access these best-in-class technology companies and I want to make sure it's okay with the company, what are some ways I can do it? And RVI was one of the few vehicles that you're able to do that in. And so it was a confluence of a lot of different things, but I think the value prop to both the customer and the company is now getting out there more, and it's starting to resonate that this is one of the true good ways to get access to these best-in-class private technology companies.
I was going to bring up that the SPV thing as well. Like, the one great thing I find with this is, the trust that Robinhood has been able to build is, that you're actually getting these products inside of RVI. And so you're actually getting shares in Stripe or OpenAI, where before there's so many products where it's a little bit sketchy. You're doing it on platforms you've never heard of with companies you've never heard of. And so I think it brings a lot of trust to the space.
100%. Yeah, that was one of the value props that we were hoping would come through. And again, with the Anthropic news, it just further emphasized that. But yeah, customers should be careful what they own. Like, we want people to do what's right for them. And I do think that everybody should have access to these best-in-class frontier technology companies, whether it's through Robinhood or others. But you should just be mindful of who you own. So with the trust that we have, the 27 million customers, the 350 billion of assets, being public, I think that's a huge value prop for both companies and customers, that this is a real fund, that what you're going to own.
I think that brings me a little bit to, sorry, Evan, if you have a question as well.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
I was just going to say, I think that brings me to the trust that's needed as you go to smaller and smaller companies. You guys had released a press release on the idea of bringing out an RVI, it's sort of Robinhood Ventures 2. which
Mhm.
might end up going towards smaller businesses. Can you tell us anything about that and the approach to adding even more vehicles where people can essentially pick the basket of private investments that they might want to take part in?
Yeah, absolutely. We are so excited for this. So we put out a press release that we had confidentially filed with the SEC. I know it sounds a little bit weird, but we said that. And what did we say? That we filed RVII, Robinhood Ventures Fund 2. And the goal of that fund, among other things, is to invest in earlier stage companies. And so the reception for RVI has been great. We talk to customers and what are they looking for? A lot of them are saying, wow, we want access to these big frontier technology companies like OpenAI and Stripe, but we also want access earlier stage. Now that comes with more risk. It's different, but it's on the spectrum. It's something that customers are asking for. And so what we said about designing is how can we do the same thing we did for RVI and bring it to the earlier stage? And so that's what we're cooking in the background. We'll have more to share on it, when the fund actually prospectus becomes public and it goes there. But if you look at the vision of Robinhood Ventures and even Robinhood as a whole, our thought is if you are a private company and you want to raise capital, Robinhood can support you from inception through IPO. So you're raising your first round of capital, RVII or another one of our funds should be able to invest. You're raising your next rounds after you found product market fit. Great, we can support you with additional capital. You're now at your pre-IPO growth stage. Great, RVI, the flagship fund one, can invest in you. Now you're ready to go public. We can list you on Robinhood. We've helped take 50 companies public, including our own. And so the vision is retail should have a seat at the table from inception until IPO and even after. But for the companies, the value prop is it's just another source of diversified capital. And if you bring more capital into the system, our view is you will have more entrepreneurship and it'll be great for the country as a whole. And so capital formation is really important to us. And it's one of the things that we strive for. And retail is just another way to give capital formation there. And it works out for everybody. Retail does great. They get access to these companies. The companies get access to more capital. And then hopefully the cycle continues. So that's a little bit of the vision. But yeah, RVII, we said in the press release, will be focused on earlier stage companies. Me and Vlad also mentioned at earnings. So super excited to have that out there. And we'll be able to share a little bit more on the fund specifically in the near term.
Go ahead, Evan.
I was gonna say where my mind's going now. I was gonna maybe change the subject up here a little bit. A lot of these private companies, not all of them are AI related, but a lot of them are AI. It has become all of the rage. Everyone is talking about AI always, and obviously we're a couple years into this, so it's not just the V1s of all these AI tools anymore. They're becoming more and more useful. So I was just curious, maybe it's directly into this conversation, and there's ways that you guys are using AI in this area, but I'm kind of curious as a company as a whole, whether it is the front end for me as a user or for the back end for you guys as people building there and a part of it. I'm just curious on how you guys are using AI and utilizing it.
Yeah, fantastic question. And this is where we spend a lot of time on, myself personally, Vlad, of course, and the team. We put it into two big buckets. One, what are we doing internally? And then what are we doing for the customers? So let's start on the customer side, because I think that's what more people see. And then I can go to the internal side, which not a lot of folks get to see. On the customer side, we started last year with a simple premise of, hey, what's going on with my stock? It's the number one questions asked as a former investor. You open up your Robinhood app, or if you're an institutional investor, Bloomberg in the morning, you want to know what's going on with Apple or Tesla or Robinhood. And so we said, this is a prime thing for AI to use. So we built Stock Digest, where you open it, it gives you exactly what's going on through vetted news sources, and it worked even better than expected. So then we said, well, what's the next thing we can do? We did Portfolio Digest. So now you open your app, I do this every morning, and it gives you a summary of what is going on with my portfolio. And it's all AI generated, but it's unique to you. So every single person sees something different. It goes through the drivers, both macro, fundamental to your individual stocks. So then we said, what's the next thing customers are asking for? They're saying, hey, I want to be able to do either stock research or scanners or know what's going on in my portfolio. Love to see the customers are big fans of it. And so we rolled out under our Cortex brand, which is our AI brand, what we call the Robinhood Assistant. So you can go into the app and you can ask it simple questions like, I want to buy a company that's trading at less than 20 times PE and it's growing at this rate. And it'll help you do that fundamental research or technical research that you're looking for. And we announced on earnings that over 1 million people have used that already. And it's just recently come out. So we're super excited for that. Now, the next thing that we're working on, which we haven't unveiled yet, but we teased a little bit of earnings calls, there's a lot of talk about agents. agent's a little bit of buzzword, what it's going to be. You mentioned the Collison brothers earlier. They have a great analogy that I like to use is everyone's asking about agentic commerce. And is the agent going to go do all my shopping for me? But when you talk to customers, there's a huge spectrum. The most common thing people want is, hey, I know what to buy. I just don't want to fill out the stupid web form. Can the agent do that for me? To, okay, I know what the store I like. Can you help me browse it? All the way to, okay, I'm going on this trip. Can you check the weather and tell me what to buy? And then the very last thing is just go do all my shopping for me. Our mental model is for investing, it's somewhere along the same lines. A lot of people know what they want to do, but they want the agent's help. Then you get more and more down the spectrum to, okay, I have a sector that I like, or I have a specific thesis I want to put on, all the way to the very end is, hey, this is my risk tolerance, and you go do the whole thing. And so we're working on that. And we said at earnings, we have our first agent product coming out at the end of May. And then you're going to see a steady drop of different products throughout our product suite in the year. And so we're super excited to use all of them. When the new Opus model came out in December, and many people have said this, it changed everything, right? These models have gotten so strong that you can now really build great products. We love Stock Digest and the Robinhood Cortex Assistant, but we now have models that are powerful enough such that you can build really great consumer products. And I don't think anyone's nailed that use case. You're starting to see a couple things out there, whether it's smaller companies or even larger ones. And that's why it's taken us a little bit longer, but we want to make sure we really nail the product. And so that's what's coming out now. On the internal side, again, it is something we've been working on since 2022, but it's really accelerated since December of last year. So in 2022, when ChatGPT came out, Vlad was on the phone with Sam that first weekend, be like, hey, we want to be an enterprise early adopter customer, and we haven't looked back. And so what did we start with? The super simple use cases were software development and then customer support. And so software development, we are a technology company. These tools are great. And what we do is we measure commit velocity. That is just a very simple North Star metric for how much code you're pushing into the system and how many changes you're making. And I said on our last earnings call that since the start of last year, our commit velocity is up 50%. And that's after being up before. And so what it does, it just allows us to ship faster for customers. We get asked all the time, how do you guys ship so fast? One of the things is we just have really great engineers, but now they have these amazing tools on top of them. So that's one thing. We then start automating customer service. It's something that was right for it. You can give customers faster feedback and even tighter control. And we've said recently about 75% of our customer queries are answered using AI. And the response has been great because it's not just talking to a chatbot. It's like getting things done for you if you need to find documents, if you're trying to figure out what happened to your account. And so we're keep pushing the boundaries there. Now what are we doing and where am I spending a lot of my time on? How do we get every single person at Robinhood to use AI? So we set a goal by this month. We wanted 100% of Robinhood to be on AI. And I said our last call, it was, we were approaching above 90%. We're already using it in their daily workflows, and we're keep pushing it there. And we're not token maximizing. So there's a lot of things out there about, hey, how many tokens you spend to do it? When I put my finance hat on, that's not the goal. But we start with just adoption. Use it, see what it works, change your workflows, what's working, teach each other. We did a Saturday AI hackathon where people came in and we invited their kids and they had a robot camp and everyone was trying to learn together. And so the more tools you give to people, the more it happens organically. Like even on the finance team, I see it. When you get that aha moment, like, wow, this can make my life easier, that's when it starts to compound. And so now I'm starting to measure, what is the ROI on an individual token? What's the ROI on an individual agent? And we are investing very largely in the space there. But yeah, it's been incredible to see. And it truly has been a turn since December. Like once the new models came out, it's just so powerful. The last thing we're doing is we are building an internal harness. So a harness is a buzzword out there. It's coming a lot. Like all a harness is how do you actually interact with these tools? If you're a software developer, it's very easy. It's native. You can even go in terminal. For the average employee who's not a software developer, it is hard. Like it is complicated. It wasn't intuitive. Now, some of that's gotten better with Claude Desktop or Codex. There's a lot of tools out there, Gemini. But what we did is we built an internal harness that takes all of the different tools that we have in the back end from the security side and also the engineering side and the non-engineering side. And it's in one central place. And if you just want to design an agent, you can do it in natural language, tell the agent what to do, and it will do all of the technology in the background. That's the next place we're working on. And so, yeah, like there's no limits to what you can do. And it's been incredible to see what employees are building.
just was chuckling thinking about what a nightmare token maxing as an idea does to the CFO of certain companies. That's got to be horrible.
It is.
Um,
It is scary. We want to make sure we do it the right way, but we're also putting in guardrails and controls. And so I'm on a lot of CFO forums or talking to friends in the industry, and everyone has the same problem. Like, you want to make sure you're getting the tools out there and using it, but you also have to do it responsibly. I think we found a good balance there, but yeah, it is something that I'm obsessing over and making sure we're giving customers and employees the tools, but also making sure it's good for shareholders and a good expense discipline.
could I ask really quickly? I was speaking with this senior engineer at another company who had an opportunity to work at Robinhood, and they turned it down because of the work-life balance at Robinhood. They said that they still want to spend time on their hobbies, and they said that the people at Robinhood are extremely work-focused.
Yeah.
I could potentially see why, if crypto is at this precipice right now to see many great ideas. Artificial intelligence is going to make big leaps and bounds in your business. But how is the work culture at Robinhood, and how have you been a part of that, shaping that?
Yeah, it's a good question. I'm disappointed we weren't able to have your friend join, but I'll fully understand and respect it. The way we phrase it is we are a high performance culture, and so we work hard. We love what we do. We work with great people. We take it seriously. We are protecting people's financial assets and money, and trust is the number one thing. But we also have fun. Like, life is too short not to have fun. But yeah, it is a high performance, work hard culture. Now, the counter to that is you get to do some of the best work of your life. There's this saying out there: "Find your life's work," from someone I like to listen to, and I think many people come to Robinhood, and you see that. You also can see the tangible results of what you're doing.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of great enterprise companies out there. It is a lot of fun to be a consumer company, because when you build it, you see it, you use it, your friends use it, your families use it. And we're changing people's financial lives. Like, our mission is to democratize finance for all. That's just not posters on the wall. Like, we have our all hands every week. We have real customers come in, and they either tell customer support, we have their stories, and they tell us how being part of Robinhood or being able to invest or save changed their lives. Whether they paid down their student loans, they saved enough for their first house, they have a retirement account now. Like, that is really powerful. And so I think that resonates with folks. It's not for everybody. It is hard. We work a ton, but we have fun and we do it the right way. I think if you were to go to any big AI lab or any hyper growth company, you're going to see something similar. You can't be successful if you're not doing that. Now, there are variants across different companies. I think we are much closer to the one side of the spectrum, where we work hard, we're focused on, it's a high performance culture. But the other thing we do is we say, hey, if you work hard, you will be rewarded well. And so the way our incentive comp is designed is, if you do a very good job and you become a top performer, like, you can have very outsized rewards. And so you also have to be mindful and rational of that. And so, yeah, I think the culture, I personally love it. Before Robinhood, I was an investor for 10 years. I was on the buy side, portfolio manager and trader at various large firms. I worked with super sharp people, but they weren't always the nicest. At Robinhood, the reason I'm still here, and one of the reasons I love coming into work every day, is really smart people and intellectual horsepower, but just nice folks. Like, it is just a lot of people who want to try to change the world. And I grew up in California. I'm vegetarian, and the New York finance scene wasn't for me. But coming back, being part of this, like, I feel like you get that intellectual horsepower, and you just get some really great people. So it comes from the top. Like, it's shaped from Vlad and a lot of the team, and that's what we do. We want to make sure that people know what they're signing up for, that it's important work, that we're going to have fun. But yeah, you're going to work hard. And I think for the subset of people that opt into it, they do their life's work, and then they also get rewarded really well on the compensation side.
Yeah, you guys have, I think, historically overpaid your employees, but kept a tighter team. Like,
Yeah.
These are extremely hardworking, but well-paid individuals.
Exactly.
I want to make sure, while we're getting close to 1 o'clock, that Evan, if you have any additional questions, want to involve you here as well.
I think you have done fantastic, Shiv. I really appreciate you for joining us. I'd love, in the time we have left, to hear a little bit more about you, and kind of anything along your journey to get to this point that maybe you're seeing come up a lot, that's seeing really useful? Obviously, people listen to the earnings calls and all that stuff. Robinhood is a very watched company. I'm sure I saw the Kathy interview, and you're talking a bunch out there. People are learning more about you. What is something that, maybe a big lesson that you've learned along the way, or something that kind of shapes your thinking today?
Yeah, no, thank you. Happy to. And yeah, it's been an incredible journey. So as I mentioned, I've been at Robinhood 8 years. When I started, we were 180 people, a couple million customers, and in the true hyper growth fashion. And now I've seen the company grow up, live through our hyper growth.
Oh, we have lost Shiv. Do you think he's gonna come back?
And he's going to come back for 10 seconds and then be like, yes, yeah, it is what it happens. Better the
Yeah.
last 2 minutes than the first before that.
Oh, they're back. Welcome back.
All right, thank you. We had some small technical difficulties. But what I was saying is, yeah, I grew up at Robinhood. I've been here 8 years, 180 people, a couple million customers when I joined. And I've lived through all the ups and downs. In 2019, when every brokerage dropped their commissions to zero and they said Robinhood's not going to make it, when the pandemic happened and our growth went hyperbolic, very famously, during GME, we raised $3.5 billion over a weekend. Never want to do that again, but a great story for another day for all the heroic efforts that our employees did through the IPO, through going to a GM model and having to lean out our company to now being a profitable S&P 500 kind of global company. It's been fantastic. And before Robinhood, as I mentioned, I was an investor for 10 years. So I worked at PIMCO and Franklin Templeton. I was a trader and portfolio manager. On that side, you were always focused on the financials and what is the company doing and how they can go faster. And you meet with the management teams and you say, why isn't your EBITDA growing, or what are you trying to do? Being on the other side, I have such profound respect for entrepreneurs and operators. It is hard. It is messy, and it is not a straight line. The journey is not linear, but if you stay at it and you grind every day and you compound and you keep always trying to deliver more for customers, like our North Star is, can we deliver for customers and can we do it in a profitable growth way? Good things will happen. So I think I try to take all those learnings together. One thing I try to do is I try to keep perspective. My wife is a pediatric oncologist, so she takes care of kids with cancer. I could never come home and say I had a hard day. And so just having some of that perspective, and I try to remind our employees when we're going through tough times, we're trying to do things like what we're doing is important. We are helping people with their financial lives. This is incredibly important. We want to ensure trust, but also remember to keep perspective about the broader world and what's going on. And you mentioned Jason, the former CFO and one of my closest friends and mentors. He came from Amazon for 20 years, and he was always a reminder of don't get too high when things are going high and don't get too low when things are going low. Just keep at it, keep obsessing about the customers. So we try to remember that. I think I tend to be pretty calm under pressure, and so I think that helps. We've been through a lot of moments, and again, with Vlad and others, and by design, having lived through many macro moments, one of my first things out of college is I was working at a hedge fund, and Lehman Brothers went under, and my boss at the time was on maternity leave, so I was working directly with the CEO of the fund, and I was 23. You just learn and you just do things, and you just try to maintain that perspective. And so, yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been different. When we were smaller, we were the underdog and the entrepreneur, and we still think that way. But now we're an incumbent, and we want to make sure we're also taking that seriously. And so I just try to bring that every single day. I'm so fortunate to be here and feel so happy to be along the journey. And I hope that we can just keep serving customers, and I can keep working with our employees to make sure everyone's doing their best work and enjoying it as well.
I think it's a common saying that people say that it's never been a more fun time, or that they can't see more opportunity now than ever. But honestly, at Robinhood, I really think that's where you guys are right now. And I'm sure it is probably more exciting and more explosive of a time than ever before. So I can't wait to see your guys' journey, and I'm happy that you're at the helm.
No, thank you. Like I said, I really appreciate the time. Hope your listeners and viewers appreciated it. Thank you for being customers. Thank you for being investors and fans. If there's anything we can do better, please let us know as well, whether it's Robinhood, whether it's a ventures fund.
Come to Canada.
Yeah. Hey, actually, we announced our acquisition of WonderFi that should be closing hopefully in the near term, and then we'll be in Canada. So we're super excited to be in that part of the world as well.
Perfect. Well, Shiv, thank you so much. Really do appreciate your time. Evan, thank you as well. But everyone, bye for now.
Thanks both.
Have a great one. Thank you.